Varis from Ilta-Sanomat. A question for President Ramaphosa. Mr. President, you have blamed NATO for the war in Ukraine and resisted calls to condemn Russia. How would you explain South Africa's Russian policy to Finland, as Finland has just joined NATO because of Russia's attack to Ukraine? Why do you see problem in NATO and not in Putin? And a follow-up to President Niinistö, what do you think of Russians' power game in Africa, and how should Finland and other Western countries respond to Russia's challenge?
Well, let me start off by saying in my discussions with President Niinistö, he explained very well and outlined the reasons and the steps that have been taken by Finland to want to join NATO. And it is within Finland's right to decide to join NATO. They hadn't been part of NATO for the longest time, and now they've decided to join NATO. And we respect that and we accept that. And so we can never really question the right of a nation to decide which formation they want to be part of. With regard to our own stance on this whole conflict, we've been very clear right from the beginning that conflicts of whatever nature are best resolved through negotiation. And I've often said that this was a lesson that we were well taught by the father of our democracy, Nelson Mandela, who from the time he was in prison insisted that conflicts, including what was deemed to be a most intractable conflict of apartheid, should best be resolved through negotiation. And he insisted that that should be the case, and he triumphed in that. Upon being released from prison, the negotiations then ensued, and they brought an end to the nightmare of apartheid. And that is the great lesson we've learned from the great Nelson Mandela, which we continue to propagate and say any conflict needs to be resolved in that way. And one of the reasons why we've adopted this stance of being non-aligned is to ensure that we are able, even as a country, to play a role in helping the conflict to come to an end. And I have, on a number of occasions, spoken to President Putin, and my message has always been clear. There needs to be a negotiation, and also when I've spoken to President Zelensky. Because we do believe that every conflict, even if it's a war, in the end has to come to an end, and the end has to be a negotiated conclusion. And so we therefore have that view, and we are pleased that on a number of countries on the African continent subscribe to this approach and to this view. And that is why even today we support efforts that are being made by a number of countries to bring this conflict to a negotiated end. So that is the approach that we still hold on to.